Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of the Azure Nigeria community. My name is Oluwatosi Anishere. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and a consultant with over 10 years of experience specializing in Microsoft Azure as well as Microsoft 365. I'm one of the leaders of Azure Nigeria community, and I will be your host for today. So today we are starting with the AZ-900 Fundamental series. That's what we'll be looking at in a couple of weekends to come. And this course, the AZ-900 course, is a foundation level for those of us that are joining us. The AZ-900 is a foundation level course, and here you'll be learning the knowledge of the cloud concept, the core Azure architecture, and services, the Azure management and governance. And this course particularly is for beginners. So our speaker is going to make sure it goes, very basic to help us understand all of this concept. Another thing, at the end of this course is people would have the opportunity to take AZ 900 exam and earn a certification for themselves, the fundamental certification. So this is very basic, and I believe you understand. So, without further ado, I would introduce our speaker. Our speaker is your well known Imo Etuk. Imo is a cloud and a DevOps engineer, and his experience cut across Microsoft Azure as well as AWS. This is a seasonal speaker, he's Microsoft certified trainer. He's also one of the leaders, here at the Azure Nigerian community, and he lives in Lagos, Nigeria. So help me welcome Imo as he takes us through the AZ-900 Module 1 Fundamental Series. Welcome, Imo.
Okay, so thank you very much for that introduction. And hello, everyone, and welcome to today's section. We are about to start. In fact, we are starting right away. Okay, so let's get our hands dirty. Okay, so I will pull up my slides now. And today, among the SC900 track, we have three modules. The first module is described a cloud concept. That's what we are going to take today. And the remaining modules will be covered in the course of this study series. Remember, the study series cut across AZ-900 and AZ-400. And like the moderator has said, AZ-900 is the very basic when you're starting up with Microsoft Azure Cloud. So that's how it is. So we move on now without much waste of our time. So we have the module outline, which is module 1. What you will learn today is you will get to know what cloud computing is. I know a lot of people must have had the knowledge. Shared responsibility between you and Microsoft Azure, and cloud models. You will get to know about capital and phases of operational costing and benefits of the cloud. You get to know about the various cloud service types, and which is the IaaS and PaaS, SaaS shared responsibility once again, and that will take us to cloud computing. And under cloud computing domain, we'll get to know how to define it, describe the shared responsibility, different cloud models, public, private, and hybrid. We are just going to also identify appropriate use cases for each cloud models and also describe the consumption-based model. We are going to compare cloud pricing models. So just takes us to the first topic of what is cloud computing. Please, if you have any question, feel free to drop. I will be free to answer questions as I'm talking along. We do not have much time, so go back to question again. So cloud model as it is written, and cloud computing as it's written on that screen, as it's showing up there, is we can see that is the delivery of computing services over the internet, enabling faster innovation, flexible resources, and economics of scales. What is and that cut across when you have about cloud, we talk about compute, networking, and storage. These are the three main component of cloud computing. When we talk of compute cut across like the virtual machine, just as you have your on-prem system, like the on-prem Windows server or Linux server, it falls under compute. When you talk about networking, Azure Virtual Networking, this is what enables the cloud computing other resources to communicate over the internet. Then the storage is where you store your data and other resources that you have on your Azure cloud. Azure, as we all know, is a cloud computing platform that is owned by Microsoft. It's one of the public cloud platforms. We are going to come to that when we are describing the cloud model. So, having known that, okay, cloud computing is about delivery, but it goes beyond this. It's about you making a kind of these providers like Microsoft making the resources available on demand. Take for instance, if you are to maybe if you live in a house that you use a prepaid meter, we all are familiar with prepaid meter, or I can use Uber driver. You are using your Uber, you order for Uber whenever they drive you to a place that you are going to. That services that they offer to you is on demand. You need it at that time, and that's why you order for it. And I can assure you that you won't pay beyond what your right count, the costing price that your app reach. You can't pay beyond that. So that is similar to cloud computing, the way it works. And we also have a scenario of prepaid meter. You only get to have live power supply whenever there is your meter is well recharged and you have it recharged. Whenever it is not recharged, you won't have light. And these services that something that power this light in your house are measured maybe by the PSN in Nigeria here, and other country have their own provider. And those things that power those things, like the wires and all that, it can be attributed to like a networking virtual network that enable this communication between your VM and your virtual machine and other resources like the Azure storage or the disk that you have attached to VM. And we also have storage. Storage is where all your data that you have are stored. And that will take us to the second outline in today's series. So we have the shared responsibility model. When you hear the word shared means something that is distributed between two people. You divide between two. Okay, maybe at point A, Mr. A has this duty to perform. Mr. B has this duty to perform. So, like Microsoft is Mr. A, who owns this cloud platform. You as the customer or as a cloud user is the B, who is the customer. So there are duties that is expected of you. If you look at the illustration on the screen, we have the blue, the one that are fully blue to be customers. We have the one that is half blue to be that, oh, we have okay, the one that is fully blue to be the customer, which is on-prem. On-prem means all your infrastructure. You have the servers, you have the storage server, you have the network infrastructure, you have everything on your company premises, on your office premises. You are the responsible for managing everything, from ranging from the operating system, the paging of the operating system, the network infrastructure, the managing and connection of all the network infrastructure, and the management of data, how you manage the data, the backing up of your data, and all that. You are the one fully responsible for it. Microsoft will not come in to help you in that. So we have the infrastructure as a service, we have the platform as a service, and we have the software as a service. So now you can see that, okay, the one that is like gray blue, like the light blue there, is Microsoft, fully Microsoft. Then the one that is have um, have blue and light blue is shared. So in infrastructure as a service, when you come to infrastructure as a service, something like your VM, Azure VM falls under that. That is when Microsoft has built this infrastructure for you, and you have to launch the VM and bring in your data to host. In that case, the responsibility that you have is to take care of your data and information, and also devices that are connected to it. You also are the one to take note of the accounts and identities. Microsoft take it very serious when anything that has to do with identities, because of the man in the middle. They cannot afford for your data to be tampered with. So they have set up this for you to manage your identities and accounts and also the data. So under the platform as a service, remember some of the examples of resources that falls under infrastructure as a service are the Azure VM, Azure Virtual Networks. Then some of them that falls under the platform as a service, we have the Azure Storage as a popular platform as a service. We have all the app services under platform as a service. We have the databases, Azure database for MySQL, Azure database Azure SQL database. We have other ones like that that falls under that. So software as a service, this one is something that is fully managed by Microsoft. You only have the data aspect and something like accounts and identities, okay, to manage. Remember, in the IaaS, you are responsible for physical hosts like the operating system. You are responsible for the physical network. You are responsible for the for okay. Microsoft is responsible for the data center. You are only responsible for operating system network controls in the IaaS. You're also responsible for the applications and also the identity and directory infrastructure, like the Active Directory, account user and management. If you are being exposed to Microsoft Azure Active Directory, that's where you manage as a customer. And also in the platform as a service, you share the responsibility of managing the identity and directory with Microsoft. Microsoft manage some parts, you manage some parts. Like the application aspect of it, you also have a role to play in managing some of the parts. Like including the network. The only thing that Microsoft is fully responsible is the OS. Okay, and the network also you shared it. Then Microsoft is also responsible for the physical host, and they have the data center for you to bring in your application when you write your code and bring it there. So in SaaS, some of the SaaS example are Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, and any other one third-party SaaS software like the SaaS solution like the G Suite and owned by Google, and other one like Salesforce and all that. They're all under software as a service. So we move down to another one, which is the cloud model. Cloud models are like they are divided into three. Number one is the private cloud model. So we have the private cloud, which is organizations create a cloud environment in their data center. You are the one responsible for operating and services they provide, and does not provide access to users outside of your organization. This is private. You are the one that maybe you go to the public cloud like Microsoft and buy a certain portion of your of your data storage, or it could be anything, okay, that you need to use for your own firm. So you own it and operate it on your own. You are totally responsible for the security and everything that happen in that place. So that is how private cloud works. And we also have another model to be the public cloud. Public cloud, public cloud, as the name implied, like the Microsoft is an example of public cloud. They are the one that owned by cloud services or hosting provider, it's e.g. Microsoft Azure. And they also provide resources and services to multiple organizations and users. It can be accessed via secure network connection, like the express route. You are going to be, when you are AZ-104, get to know about the various secure network that the Azure VPN and Azure Express network and all that. Express routes, yes. So we get to hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud is a combine the functionalities of the public cloud and private cloud, and it allows application to run in the most appropriate location, depending on where you are. If you can have your data to be hosted in the East US, and some of your most critical kind of business critical information can be stored in a location nearer to your customers and you so that because Azure has what they call Azure CDN, that quickly cache this data to the nearest customers' locations and all that. So that's when you combine this functionality, to me, what I recommend for mostly is the hybrid cloud model, in the sense that you have some part that you're responsible for to control and manage to meet your business needs, and while you also give the opportunity for Microsoft to manage some of the parts for you. So we also will go into kind of comparing these three cloud model. You look at the public cloud. You look at it that there is no capital expenditures to scale up. The thing is that when you are embarking on public cloud like Microsoft Azure, you are not to pay upfront. You pay as you go, and you can only get charged when your application is run. So, like applications can be quickly provisioned and deprovisioned. That point simply means that you now that has your data, you're only responsible for, maybe you are writing a code, and in that case you have the time to figure out the security vulnerability within your code with your developers. You only have to worry about your application, no infrastructure provision on your own end, because Microsoft does all those things for you. And anytime you want to, I'm no longer needing this VM now, you can quickly delete it and disable it. And in that case, the charges will stop. So organization only pay for what they use. Like I said before, you only pay for what you use. Pay as you go. Is that flexible? So when you talked about a private cloud, hardware must be purchased to start up and maintenance. So now for like I remember vividly when I was my company was fully on prem then, but I remember that I was responsible. I and my other colleague were responsible for purchasing the equipment, carrying big servers, and patching the OS and all that. We are also having the challenges to overcome security vulnerabilities. Every now and then, the men in the middle are trying to get to attack every time. So that is one of the, though private cloud, just bear in mind that you're responsible for everything. You have control over resources and security. Organizations are also responsible for hardware maintenance and updates. When you're on the private cloud, you have to pay attention to updates. Like Microsoft constantly updates their software from different window versions to another, from everything from this one to this one. So you have to pay attention. You have to stay up to date because you are the one that will manage that. Then when it comes to hybrid cloud, it provides the most flexibility, in the sense that why this one is most suitable is that you have the opportunity to decide what to take to Azure and what to keep on your on-prem to manage. If you look at the ones that are more critical, that, oh, okay, you don't have the infrastructure capacity within your own premises, take that to Azure. They will help you to manage without downtime. But anyone that you still feel that, okay, this one can be on-prem, you now take it. So that is how that works. Organization determine where to run the application. Yes, you want to make use of the Azure for some certain application, or your own on-prem servers. Organization also controls security, compliance, and legal requirements. So you are responsible for also managing the security and compliance and legal requirement as well. We'll get to know about that in a more advanced topic. So we move down to compare capex and versus opex. Capex is a capital expenditure. This means that you pay everything upfront. The upfront spending of money on physical infrastructure, just like you are having your own private cloud. You are responsible. First of all, before you get your server run, you need to acquire the servers. You need to buy either the Dell server or the HP server. There are many brands out there in the market. So when you buy them, you are the one that you have to pay. It's not something that you just buy and come home and then pay later. No, they won't allow that. Costs from capex have a value that reduces over time. Yes, most time, uh, when you capex have the value to reduce over time. When you have this why this capex is also more better some at times, because when you buy your own server, it can serve you for like 4 years. I think the normal lifespan of an average server is 4 years. It's expired. Server do expire. The hardware do expire most time. So I feel that when you use to buy 1 year, maybe 2002 and 22, you can use it till 2000, maybe until about 26, and you have 4 years without having to purchase another one. So I think that's why that is at least have makes sense sometimes. So operational expenditure OPEX spend on products and services are needed first to go and get built immediately. This is where Azure, the flexibility of cloud computing platform like Azure comes in. Like I remember when I was running an app for a client, and the app was built with Node.js. So all I after setting up the cloud platform, the developer bringing the code, I help them host there. So I remember then it was only pay. We only get charged when the app is triggered. It's not like it was something that they charge every time, but you are billed immediately when it is time to be built. So that's for the capex and opex. So we have the consumption based model. When cloud service providers like Azure operate on consumption-based model, which means that end users only pay for the resources they use. Whatever they use is what they pay for. Like we have the better cost prediction, prices for individual resources and services are provided. Billing is based on actual usage. Now, example of a consumption-based model is could be like a function app. When you are building an app that uses Azure function, it's you only charge based on consumption based on consumption. Anytime the app is not being consumed, but maybe by an API somewhere, or maybe something like that, you are not going to be charged. So that's how this one work. And you can better predict the cost, and you can also have prices for individual resources. Okay, these resources will cost this and all that. You also have the billing is based on actual usage. It's not like they don't charge you beyond what you don't use. That's the major concept that I need to capture. Then we move down to cloud benefits. Cloud benefits is under the domain under this. I'm going to preview the immediately I run through the slide. I'm going to preview the AZ-900 learning path on the web, so you get to know. Under this one, we are expected to describe benefits of high availability and scalability in the cloud. We are also expected to describe the benefits of reliability and predictability in the cloud. We are also expected to describe the security and governance in the cloud, describe the benefits of manageability in the cloud as well. So we move down to the diagram here. You have the high availability. When you talk of cloud is not something that goes off anytime. You like on-prem server. Look at the organization. Most time they off the on-prem server, they shut down system and go home. But cloud services is already always available. And anything you build online, imagine having an application. Your expectation should be that this application should always be available to the customers. That's number one thing. So high availability means making sure that your solution, your services are always 24/7 available to customers. And after that, you get to know about scalability. How is it something that will scale during your peak moments, something that can scale and meet up customer demand when there is a peak moment, and is your services able to scale up when there is low peak moment? Is it able to scale down? That is one of the benefits that cloud provides for you. With Microsoft Azure, you are able to scale in and scale out your infrastructure based on customers' demand, and also how reliable is your application when you build. So Microsoft Azure ensure the reliability. In fact, it's something that matters most. It's not about making the application. When you make the application available and scalable, how reliable it is to the customers. That is one thing that is one of the benefits that cloud has brought to you. The cloud will ensure the reliability of all these resources that you use and the application that you run on them, and also predictability in terms of prices, costing. You're able to predict, oh, okay, this is how much I will spend, and based on customer charge charges, based on the charges that Microsoft Azure will give you, you're able to predict based on the resources that you use, and you're able to also predict your application performance based on the resources as well. So that's how it can work. And security, Microsoft takes security for a kind of, they don't joke with security at all. Like there are many security infrastructure, like a Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Formerly it was a Azure Security Group, something like that. So now Microsoft has moved. I modified the name to Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So under security, there are a lot of features that you can explore. We have the network security group. We have the inbound, where you used to restrict the inbound and outbound access to your resources on Azure. So security is very tight. You don't need to worry about anything. Then the governance has the governance also has to do with the legality, with the are they compliance kind of with the ISO. We have some of the some of the the bodies that some of the compliance bodies like the ISO and HIPAA and all that, and PCIS, portable credit card, something that has to do with that take charge of credit cards. All those things, we have to look at which of the cloud models are really complying with these compliance bodies, so that not to so that the customer's information will be secured as well. Then the manageability, how is it easy to manage? If you look at Azure Cloud Platform, and if you are really familiar with it, it's not that the resources that you put there are easy to manage. You can easily manage them and all that to meet your demands. So we move down to cloud service types. The cloud service types, we have the this is where the infrastructure as service, platform as service, and software as a service. Then identify appropriate use cases for each of them. So we move down to the infrastructure as service. Build pay as you go IT infrastructure by renting servers, virtual machine, storage, network, and operating system from a cloud provider. So this is what happened. The storage that you use and the virtual machine, you rent them and pay them based on how your application run, how long is run. Like I have, as I speak to you now, I have a Windows 11 virtual machine on my own Azure platform where I launched about 2 days ago. So I'm constantly monitoring it because I'm using it to do something. So as soon as I get accomplish what I'm using it to do, I will delete it. In that case, I'll be able to know how much was charged and how much I have left. So I'm simply renting the VM and to do what I want to do. So that is how under here you have the servers and storage networks, networking, firewall, security, data center, physical plant and building. That is this in this case you also have some of the data center is owned by Microsoft and the building is also owned by them. So you now they provide you with the networking and the servers as well. So these are the three components that infrastructure as service covers. So we have the platform as a service. Platform as a service environment provides environment for building, testing, and deploying software application without focusing on managing the underlying infrastructure. Just as we did last in our last section when we had the cloud resume challenge, we really played around with infrastructure with platform as a services. If you remember, we did we use Azure function, we use Azure storage, we use Azure SQL, Azure Cosmos DB. Those are platform as a service, and in platform as a service, Azure will provide you with the platform. You now build your apps. Let's say you are deploying your apps from GitHub or then to the Azure, or you are deploying it from Azure DevOps as well to Azure. So Azure has already prepared an environment for you. Just bring this app and come and host. So that's just it. And under software as a service, I made mention of Microsoft 365. Like users connect to and use cloud-based apps over the internet. We all know about Microsoft Office 365, email, and calendars. So in this case, you don't have anything to do. If you are an IT support officer in your place of work, all you need to do is just to set it up for your users. And it does not take time. Is a graphical user interface. You don't need to code. You need the knowledge of coding. All you need to do is just to deploy it. The environment has been provisioned already by Microsoft Azure. So it's that simple. So we move down to a comparison. The three of them are here on the screen. So the IaaS, the most flexible cloud service. Why IaaS is most flexible is that you can configure and manage the hardware for your application the way you want it. That sometimes, oh, I need maybe two CPU V cores. I need three. I need this. So you can always change. You have the chances of changing everything to meet your own needs. So we also have the PaaS. PaaS focus on application development. Platform management is handled by the cloud provider. Yes, this one you don't have any underlying server to manage. Azure manage everything. You just have your ASP, maybe you have your .NET application running somewhere. You want to bring it down to Azure. I mean, with platform as a service, you have is not your application will not run in a kind of a monolithic environment. You have the opportunity to break your apps into microservices format that will enable a better scalability and all that. So we have the SaaS we talked about. You pay as you go pricing model. Users pay for the software they use on a subscription model. We have different pricing plans for Microsoft 365. We have the E5 all that. There are many. I urge you to explore it after the section to learn more about it. So we also have the then we if you can we have the review section for this. You are to go back and review this under Microsoft link. So we've come to the end of this slide section. So quickly we're going to jump into Azure Portal, but before then I will show you something. I will take you through the learning parts for AZ-900 so that you stay glued to it. For those of us joining us as beginners, as new people, this is Azure Cloud Platform. This is Azure Portal. This is how it looks. Let me maximize, zoom in my screen so you get to see it clearly. This are dashboard, Azure dashboard. This is dashboard. The resources here are pinned. You can pin them and unpin them. Like if you go to this corner, you will see all resources that you need to create. Under favorite, there are some resources lined up there that you can quickly create. Then to check your billing, cost and billing management is under here. Microsoft Defender for Cloud, which is the security platform for Azure, is here. With Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you can define several security baseline that will meet your business needs. So we are in the quickly glance through the learning part for AZ-900. So if you are preparing for your exam, this is the right place to come to. After reviewing, the one we just did today is describe cloud concept. So under describe cloud concept, as we finish, if you look at it, we describe it, introduction to this. We talked about the benefits of using the cloud. That is where scalability, reliability comes in. We also described the cloud service types. If you remember, we talked about infrastructure as a service and software as a service and all that. So it is that simple for you to quickly finish that and prepare for your exam. So under this one, for today's section, we are going to show you two things: how to create Azure VM using Azure Portal and how to create Azure VM using Azure CLI. You should not run away from Azure CLI or PowerShell. You will need it as a cloud engineer to quick provisioning of Azure resources. So now, first of all, let's go to Azure portal and create. I'm already there. If you are with me, you can go to create a resource. You can click, or you can search directly in this place to get your resource out. We will create virtual machine. We're going to do two things. We are going to create a virtual machine and quickly remote into it and see how it looks like. So this to create Azure virtual machine. I am on the interface now. I believe you are there with me as well. Let me zoom in. So we have my subscription is there already selected. So resource group, I can pick the existing one. No, but I will create a new one. So we have, I will name it AZ-900 RG. So that is how to create it. And once you do that, it is there. So name of your virtual machine, I'm going to name it AZ900 Vm. I can select the West US, but I will select um, maybe I will select the Europe, West Europe is much more closer to me in Nigeria. So I will also select the availability option. Is not compulsory because the more if you add availability zone is physically separating your resources in different region. That is that if one fail, another one will pick up. So it's not compulsory. You can leave it because the more you add it, the more in charges you are going to incur. So I will leave it like that. Then we are creating virtual Windows VM first, Windows Server VM first. We'll go to Linux VM later. And so let me quickly set the data center. I'm using the latest version of Windows Server, which is 2022. Select that. So, and not discount. We don't have. So, under size of your VM, I will leave it at the default. And also the username will be AZ900 user. AZ900 user. Then the password, put a password that you can easily remember, because you're going to need it when trying to access the VM. So you confirm your password. We have that. So under public inbound port, you have to allow one of the ports, which is RDP 3389 port. If you are to run a Linux server, allow this. If you are to run a server base that has a web server like the what's it called, Apache or Nginx server, you have to allow this web server port, this HTTP and HTTPS port. You have to open it, but we are not running a web-based server, so we leave it. We only open one port. So now I'm going to accept this, and would you like to use an existing? I don't have an existing. Okay, skip that. Then you can check the disk site. You can decide to check the disk site, or you can decide to just leave it like that. I'm running on premium SSD, locally redundant storage. So after that, we move down. I can decide to check advanced. All these ones are optional most time, depending on your business need or your need. I will just create it because it's working. Under networking, why the error? So I will use advanced option instead of the basic. So let me verify, validate, and create. Once you pass the validation, quickly you 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 quickly create it. Once the validation has been passed, You create. So while that's being created, I will launch our PowerShell quickly. Remember, I'm going to show you how the Azure CLI as well to create the Azure VM. Anything that you need in Azure, when you are able to know what the resources you are trying to create, you can use, like I'm getting VM now, Azure VM create. If you do not know other commands, you just use the help option, and to bring out all the short commands that you need to be able to quickly create this stuff out. The help command is there to help you. So our VM is being deployed. Okay, let me zoom in a little, zoom out a little to be able to see. It's still deploying, still deploying. Okay, so we have the help option for for creating Azure VM. If you look at it, maybe you've forgotten some of the this thing, some of the command. You may not know it offhand. Most time, you can use the. Let me zoom this stuff a little to be able to capture into my screen. So you see that these are the options that you need. Let me zoom in. So I'm just saying this in case you don't know the command offhand, but let's quickly do what we need to do. I'm going to clear this off. So now I'm first of all the VM create. You you just specify the name. Name will be AZ-900, but we need to be careful because we have already used this AZ-VM2, AZ-900 VM2, because we already used AZ-900 VM to create the one on Azure portal. So we now put the resource group. Our resource group that we used then was, let me confirm that. Okay. This one on the Azure portal is up. So the resource group that we use is AZ-900 Demo RG. You are going to be in the same resource group for easy management. In most time when you are creating resources on Azure, it is advisable that you use one resource group for most of your resources because it will be easy for you to manage. So AZ-900 Demo RG. Then you are going to specify the image or location. First of all, location. That one was in the, okay, this one can be in anywhere, East US. Then another one is to specify the image that you are putting. Image is Win server. We are going to use maybe okay, we can create 2019 data center. So you have that. So another one is to specify your admin user, which is the username for the owner of this VM. You can say Azure user. Okay, let's use AZ user. AZ user. Then the Azure will prompt you to supply the password. Once you press enter at this point. So that's as train error. The name tag wasn't specified. So take note that I need to specify the name here. I need to define that name with the tag. So that is how it is. So you press enter again. Then in this place now, the VM is set. So what we need to do is to connect by pressing here. You have the RDP. Most time you don't need to waste time. Just copy this IP address to this place and type and press on Windows R to bring out and type this command MSSC, it will bring out the remote desktop connection interface. One that is out, you put the IP address that you copy from here and connect. So without wasting much of the time, you just need to do that. So once that is done, it will connect. And it will ask you for the username. What did we use? AZ-900. Is it AZ-900 user? Okay. Then we have the password here. So as a beginner, you need to quickly understand, first of all, how to create a VM. It's important. So in this place, say yes. So let's check out if the now you are being prompted to supply the password. Remember that we are having this. You are being prompted to supply the password. So I'll go ahead and supply password in this place. Password will not show up. So just continue. Once I press enter, it will ask me to confirm the password. I will confirm. So this will create everything for you. So while that is done, I'm going to bring out the VM that we just launched using Azure Portal. So you now have a VM on your system, on your local system. This is a server, a Windows Server 2020 version of Microsoft Azure Windows Server series, and it's a cloud-based Windows Server. You go ahead under the server manager to manage your server by adding roles like the Active Directory and all that, and the domain name, service, and all that. So this is a topic for another day. It's ours is just to launch the VM. If you have any question, go ahead and drop it. And this one is creating. While that is creating, you can now quickly of Azure Portal again. We have many minutes left. Okay, and now we're going to create a Linux VM and see how we can SSH into it. So create a resource. This one we are creating Windows Server, Ubuntu Server 2020. I think 2022 is actually the latest version, but it's not here. So we can go with this. So we create that. Okay, so you have the platform here now. So when that is done, I'm going to answer some questions that just my attention have just been drawn to some question on the chat. So when you have scalability and elasticity concept, the simple a kind of the two terms are not the same; they are different. So scalability is the ability for your system or your resources, maybe your application, to accommodate larger loads. Maybe at a point in time when you are having, consider yourself you are selling something like okay, we are having the Christmas period is coming. A lot of people that are having a supermarket are having might be having high volume of sales during that time. So they have the server that maybe there's an app for a customer to order their items somewhere in the world, maybe in the Europe or in US. So the ability for this application to be up and accommodate the number of customers that will the large influx of customers at that time is what elasticity is all about. And also has the ability to also scale out the resources when this festive period is over. Then elasticity is the ability to fit the resources needed to cope with the loads dynamically. Maybe if you are having like a elasticity now, like as the name implies, at that moment the resources will enlarge to be able to enable the scalability function. I would say, okay, maybe in the actual sense, elasticity is considered one of the fundamental characteristics of that that empower. Okay, when it explain like this, scalability actually empower elasticity. Without scalability, elasticity will not exist. When this application scale up, it's enlarged. That's when elasticity comes in. I don't know if that's enough for for the person to this. Like a scalability simply adjust this elasticity simply adjust the application to be able to accommodate the request. But already the scalability will scale up, adding different components of the resources that you need, and be able to carry out what the customer needs at that peak time. So another question I have there is my organization uses in my organization we have a data center and yet we are using Microsoft 365. Can we call that a hybrid cloud? No, that is not a hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud is when you have some of the data in your on your cloud platform has to be data. Microsoft 365 is under the software as a service. It's simple a software that Microsoft has already provided for you and you use. You can call something like a hybrid cloud when you are using some of your data hosting on Microsoft Azure storage. You're also using some of the maybe okay, let's say okay, you have an on-prem server. That on-prem server now, you have an Azure AD Connect constantly synchronize the data, some of your data from your on-prem server to Azure. In that case, you are utilizing Azure storage and also having the physical servers on your on-prem. So that is when when a hybrid cloud comes in. You have that means some of the components of public cloud, like the storage servers and all that, and they be on your on premises, and you're also hosting some of your moving some of your data gradually to Azure. That's when the hybrid cloud concept comes in. Using Microsoft Azure does not mean you're using a hybrid cloud in that sense. I believe that. Okay, we move down to we are trying to quickly creating a Linux VM now right now. So I'm going to select the resource group that we used before, and under here we're using a Linux user. Just or you can use Ubuntu because the Linux has several distribution. Ubuntu is one of them. So we can say Ubuntu user. Ubuntu is one of the distribution we have the Kali Linux and all that, and we have other ones. And so the standard. Then the OS is this. Ignore this size. If you can go with the default size of what works for you. In this place, we are going to use SSH instead of public key. The essence of SSH is that SSH means secure shell. It is more secure than password in the sense that the man in the middle will not be able to quickly break into your system and attack it. So that is what um, um, why SSH is much more better and makes your system secure. So the username is Azure user already is defined there. Then your key name, take note of this key. You are going to need it when you are doing it. You can rename it to what you feel that okay, let me rename it now that is AZ-900 key. Just put it like that. So I will now allow the port. The plan now is SSH22. So I'll just quickly review and create. So and as you can see, our VM is running. The VM is running now. So this is a server that you can go here to manage to a kind of add rules. But if you add rule now, if you can install the domain name, domain, set up a new domain. Like I said, this is a topic for another day, but I would advise you play around. What we are installing here is Active Directory domain services. we check out the one we created. See that the one we created with the PowerShell with the CLI commands is up. If you go to Azure, you should be able to find that VM. If you go to Azure Portal, let's say okay, this one already is, yeah, as past the validation level, we are going to create it. So while that is being created, you remember that if you fail to download your SSL key now, you will not be able to access it later. So always download it. Once you download, it stores on your system. And take note of the location where the key is stored. You need the location to be able to access your server. That is how it is. So we have it here. I'm going to open my system. I'll move it to okay, like my own now is in a desktop, is in the download folder. So you have to take note of this. Is in a download location. Download location. So let me bring this. I can take it up to desktop so that I'm able to access it. Or I can leave it in the download location. So this one now is still deploying. If you refresh this page and go back to the resource group that we created before, the AZ-900 demo, you see that the VM with the Azure CLI is here. It should be here. If you scroll down, you see that it's a VM2, AZ-900 VM2. So take note, when you are using it, you have to. So it's here. It's almost the same thing, though that one is version is server 2019, while the one we launched is server 2022. So that's how it works. Okay. So now what we need to do again is we need to this is the server we created before. We need to create out. There's no time to install the rule. So our Linux server has successfully created. So we move down to trying to access using the, let's check it, virtual machine. Ubuntu user is the name of the Linux server that we just created. You click it now and connect. Connection is using SSH. Instead of using, there are 3 different ways to connect to Azure VM. You can use Azure version. Time will not permit us to use this. This is a web interface, using it through the web interface. So it's still checking, okay. So now for you to be able to access this VM, you need to go to your PowerShell. Let me clear this screen. Or it could be, you can use PuTTY, but you can use CMD, that is your command prompt, the local PC command prompt to access it. But let's use the local PC command prompt. I want to just quickly show you before our time is up. So we move down, I want to zoom this in, increase the font size. Okay, this is big enough. So if you want to do that, you just follow the command here. Don't make the mistake. Already we know where the location where that is. Let me minimize this so that I will be able to. So SSS, the part that you put your key is under downloads. So you navigate to downloads, to the downloads folder by doing the CD before typing the SSS. You need to navigate first of all to downloads, where your key was downloaded to. So now that you are in the download folder, you can now carry out the connection by using the SSS at the IP address. Okay, SSS, the username is Azure user. Then the public IP address is this one that is showing up here. So you just have to copy it. Once you copy it, and let me enlarge this, paste here, and press enter. Okay, it's not going through this. You can use PowerShell. Let's use PowerShell. Local command prompt is saying that as not unrecognized. So we quickly cd into downloads. Then once you are here, you do SSH Azure user at the public IP address. I omitted H. So take note about this. Let's see. It's not still recognized. Okay, so in that case, you can use I normally use git batch, but git batch, let's see if my git batch will come up. So if you have installed your git batch, that is git, the git terminal on your system, it's easy that you use that most time. Let's see if that works. So we have SSH Azure user. You cd first of all to the location downloads. Once you are there, you SSH into Azure user at IP address that you copied before. It's not recognized. Okay, in this case, you can use POTI. But before you use POTI, you need to convert that key to, because this is a PEM key, you need to convert it to PPK. So now, okay, let's say I want to use POTI to connect. So this is my POTI. I will open this place. Select the auth. Now the private key is stored, is on my downloads. If you look at it critically, it will not recognize except it is converted to PPK. POTI only take PPK, that is private key. So the various way to connect to Linux VM is to use POTI or use your local terminal by making sure that the command is recognized. We do not have time to troubleshoot this here on the live section. So that is the way to connect to Linux VM on Azure. But on your own end, you need to go back and do that. Do the connection, create it using any medium that suits you, either Azure CLI or PowerShell, and do all those things. So we will call it a day for today. Our time is ending the section, and do have a lovely day.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We will continue this series next week. Thank you, Imo, our wonderful speaker, for taking us through the shared responsibility model, the private, public, and hybrid cloud, the benefit of cloud, as well as the different types of cloud. So those were the things our speaker talk to us about today. And thank you very much for your time. See you next week. Bye.